Can I sometimes still be the dancing guy?
No, never again.
What?
Dancing guy times are over. All right, it should be going live anytime. So, dancing guy, whatever that is in the background, you gotta kill that.
You talking to me?
Yeah, there's like TV or something in the background.
Hey, Jess.
All right,
can you turn it down?
So,
Actually, can you guys? Do you mind watching the bedroom? You talking to me?
I'm waiting.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm waiting for the explosion.
Can you turn it down? All right, is that quite enough? Actually,
that's
do you
fine.
mind watching the bedroom? Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's cool. I was waiting for the explosion of rage.
How dare you?
How dare you? Who do you think you are?
I hope she wouldn't respond like that.
Shit's
about to get fucking real.
Whoa. All right.
Hello, welcome to Summoner Sift podcast.
All right. Real talk. Okay.
We get a little bit too personal.
All right. Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna just get real quiet so we can record, and there's a clean break of the audio. Okay, and we're going live in 3, 2, 1. Hello out there, it's January 23rd, 2017, and welcome to episode 15 of Summoner Sift. We are back with the whole crew, the trio reunited, Contractor back from the dead, off the bench, ready to go, with the webcam. Look at that, man. Look at his smiley, fuzzy face. It's wonderful. How you been, man?
I have been great. Work has finally stopped forcing you to work every single day that we want to do a podcast, so I am able to actually return.
You're gainfully employed. I'm so happy for you.
Me too. But sometimes it's still kind of irritating.
No, it's wonderful. Get used to it. That's life pulling you down. That's what it does.
But I got to be able to play League for a living. That's screw normal jobs. What are you talking about?
Well, not being on the League podcast not gonna help that goal, buddy. So
you're right, man. How am I supposed to win?
Show up more. And Projector's back.
Hey guys, good to be back.
Wonderful as always.
You know it. Keeping that beard luscious.
Keeping it luscious.
This is now a one beard podcast.
You know, I go in stages, man. It's like the cycle of life and beards continues.
Nice.
It's not a big beard, but at least he has one.
And then it'll be shaved.
I'm struck with beard envy.
Mine was huge. Mine was actually, it was getting pretty big, and then I hacked it off again. But, you know, I gotta switch it up. I can't let people be on, know what's coming.
No, I feel you.
Gotta keep them
switch
on.
Switch from week to week.
Week to week. Yeah.
What kind of beard Spence gonna have this time?
What? I'm going full handlebars next time. Boom. Straight out.
To be fair, that would be very surprising.
Yeah. So they changed the jungle up. That's been interesting. How's that been going for you, Projector? How you been?
So I haven't played a ton of games because I was out of town, but I've played about 7. And I definitely feel the difference, and I don't feel the difference as in I feel behind, but I definitely feel more even with everyone. I still find it easy to be ahead of the enemy jungler. Pathing is still very rewarded with how the jungle works. But I definitely feel like it's harder for me to solo carry a game based off of my level leads or my leads in general. I feel like it's my team is winning the games more so than myself.
Yeah. What about you, Contractor? Have you felt the same way? Like, I know you don't jungle, but have you felt the oppressiveness of the jungle regime somewhat lifted?
Oh yes. No longer do I have really awkward scenarios where I'm not really dying in lane. I'm not killing my opponents. I'm not on head on XP, but I'm like, I'm probably where I should be at the time. And then a jungler 3 levels higher than me just wham right out of the jungle.
Just one shot.
And I'm
goes
just like,
hey, buddy, remember we exist. Goodbye.
Yeah, I was like, why do you have 3 levels on me? I'm not even playing badly this game. What's going on?
That's that feel when that level 9 Vi shows up and you're like, they have a Vi? Like what? And then you just get one shot by the R and it's like, oh, oops.
Yeah, she R's me and then Q's me afterwards, so I can't even dodge because I'm still stunned. And I'm just like,
exactly. Yeah, that's fun. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I have felt the same. I mean, I feel like I have gotten. It is not as easy to like hard carry games, but it is easier to get ahead of the other jungler. I actually think it's easier to get ahead of the other jungler right now, because if you're not pathing correctly, you fall behind very quickly. If you path bad, like, stuff gets bad real fast. And I've also found like it's definitely nerfed a couple of junglers. I think Lee in particular is definitely not as good as he was at the beginning of the season, because I was could not lose on that champion early. And like now, I mean, he feels about fair. You know, he's good. You have to really work to win on him. He's not the absolute like free low. I mean, I think the double whammy of the R nerfs and the jungle changes like kind of hurt him. So
yeah, it's with the jungle changes, it's extremely important for the first clear, right? Like killing that first set of minions that's on the map because the XP nerf. It's only for the first camps, correct?
No, they actually nerfed experience in general overall, and then the experience on the first camp is, or the first time you clear the camp is 25% in addition to the heavy nerf. So like they nerfed every camp except for wolves, and they buffed raptors, right? I think is what it was. So every, like, the buffs, Gromp and Krugs all got their XP nerfed. Wolves are the same, and raptors got a slight buff.
Yes, right. That's correct.
So
that's good.
That
raptors
way,
definitely the hardest to kill of all.
Yeah. So, so what it's kind of done is it's sort of polarized the jungle into like junglers that can kill raptors and ones that can't. In my experience,
so Shyvana's still great.
You know, they nerfed her, but like Hecarim, Zac.
Oh yeah, Hecarim.
Vi, all those champs are still really good. So.
Yeah,
well,
for
now,
a game in the last 15 games or so where Hecarim wasn't picked or banned. Like he's just all over the place. It is right now.
Yeah, he's really good. I think the upcoming Ghost nerfs will hit him. They're
gonna nerf Ghost.
That's a really elegant
word. Yeah. They're nerfing Ghost and they're nerfing Courage of the Colossus really hard soon.
Thank God. Wait. So the nerf to Ghost is on the PB, right?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, I'll sum it up, but basically, you don't get the big chunk of movement speed right away. It scales as you move, as like the duration of Ghost happens. So
it's like Rammus Q.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It takes some time to like move up. So it's not the free escape that it was. So actually, they said across the like length of the spell, the speed is actually very similar, because I think it lasts longer now. But you are not getting it like the second you hit the button.
Okay.
So
that's actually kind of my problem with Ghost to begin with, is actually the duration. It just lasted so long. If it was being chased by someone with Ghost, and I would hop over a wall or flash,
I would still come,
and then he'd chase me all the way around the wall,
and
I'd have to hop off again, and then he would again chase me down past that point, and then I would still die, and I was like, ugh.
I think the big thing is the Colossus nerfs, right? Like the Colossus nerfs are huge. They're basically having it if you landed on one champion, which is. Ooh, it's big. They also nerf the duration of the shield, so you can't just nerf it, and then, you know, now you can almost wait it out, like your spells. So, like, if they land something, it used to be the shield was, like, so long that you couldn't, like, save your rotation because you just get deleted because it was, like, 4 seconds. Now you can almost save it because it's 3 seconds now, and then, like, unload on him when the shield goes away. I think it's actually a buff if you're landing big CCs, because it scales off of how many champions you actually hit with a thing. I think, isn't it? It's actually a buff if you land more, right?
It gives you less dueling power.
Yeah, it's less it's less powerful in one-on-one situations, but I think once you hit 3 champions with the CC, it's actually better.
That's good. I mean, that's exactly what I wanted from that keystone to begin with, because it's supposed to be like a team fighting keystone, and then like you'd have like these split pushers that had CC with it, would just take it and then just use it to just completely dominate one person, because it doesn't do nearly as much. Like the amount of shield based off your max HP is so much more valuable than like Thunderlords or Grasp or whatever. So number wise, it was just so much better for dueling, and it was not supposed to be used for that at all.
Yeah, rip Courage of the Colossus Renekton.
Yeah.
You were a wonderful Gator, but Renekton's back to the dredges. I think like that'll kill him. Like he needed that so bad to be able to trade, and like
and Vi will see a fall off as a result because Courage of the Colossus was what made her like she was okay before it was released, and then it released, and all of a sudden she was top tier with absolutely no numbers changes. So as it falls off, so will she.
Yeah, I think what you'll see is you'll start to see like certain champions that are good right now get even better. So like I think Rengar will be like insane, like because he doesn't get hurt by that at all. He'll love it. You know, he'll be like, "Woo!" You know,
you'll see the same with like Kha'Zix and
him and Kha'Zix.
Any jungler that can abuse Thunderlords is going to be next on the.
So Lee, actually, this is a minor buff to Lee, right? It's a minor buff to Elise. It's a Rengar, Kha'Zix get better. So. Hooray, ADCs! Good luck, buddies.
Yeah, I still haven't seen no like actual impactful changes to help ADCs just not be easily the worst role in the game, which they've been for a long time.
I will say that at least the jungle changes have made it slightly less terrifying for an ADC to just do what like lane in the early game.
Yeah, at least they get to like survive. At least they get like minute 3. You know,
and in turn, that's for supports too, because like it's very hard to keep someone alive when there's a jungler who's 2 to 3 levels above you, ganking with an ability that's already maxed. It's like I've got 700 HP, and you got an ability that does 260 plus scaling. I'm like,
that's no fun. The other thing that I think is going to be really interesting is how that affects support, because currently, like most people playing these mage supports anyway, and the only thing that even makes like the other supports at all viable is Courage of the Colossus. So like what happens to champions like Thresh, Leona, Alistar, like those champions just like they're just terrible. I mean, Blitz
I think Alistar's still going to want it. I think Leona's still going to want it.
They're still going to want it, but I think it's like strictly worse, and they were having trouble in lane against these like Brand, Zyra, Karma type supports anyway. So now,
they had almost no game against the mage supports. It's just like there's a lot of abilities that just don't do enough. And I've had some scenarios where I've playing recently, and they picked Alistar or Leona, and they would go in on you, and then because you have 2 damage dealers in the early game, and he's a level 5 Alistar, you just kill him. Yeah. Or Leona, the same thing happens. Like you used all your CC on me, the ADC went in, and then we just turn on the Leona, and she would just evaporate. Like it's just like, and then they never go in ever again. And they have this sweet laning phase where they're like in a normal scenario, when you have a CC support against a squishy mage support, they should be able to go in and have some game to be able to like get some kills on you. They still do, but you honestly have to fuck it up. You have to fuck it up in order to get it off properly. It's like that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, it's the old engage, like the old counter to those types of like mage supports was like hard engage on them. Like, go get them. Like, go get them, Tiger, because if you wait around the lane, they're going to poke you down and drive you out of lane, right? And, like, now what happens is they go get them, and they just get obliterated. Like, they just get, Brand just, like, rotations you and kills you. And you're like, oh, that was fun. Neat,
It also has a lot to do with before you have access to all your CC. Yeah. Like, if a Brand or Zyra player or whatever is playing the lane correctly against a tank support, like, they're not going to go in level 1. Even Blitzcrank doesn't do that. Because he just doesn't do enough. You pull someone, you get some AAs, whatever, you don't commit to the fight. You really just CC him with the hook and then walk off while your ADC gets a few hits on him. But for the most part, like until you get level 2, level 3, Leona, where you can afford to go in, you have all your abilities, so like that, where you have the most impact, you've already lost the lane because you've been poked down so much, you're out of health potions, you don't have the relic stacks left. It's just like, if they're playing correctly, you have already lost the game before level 2 or level 3, or the lane anyway.
It's just, it's going to be weird. So I don't know exactly. I feel like almost what they need to do is they need to take Bond of Stone and like change it into a useful support tank mastery. Some sort of like useful, like make it actually work. Because Bond was always sort of the default that people took, but it was arguable whether strength was better, like on support, which is real weird, and I think now like Bond is just completely useless. So I think that's what needs to happen. I think Colossus is probably close to a balanced state, right? Because it was crazy broken before. But they're going to have to do something to that third mastery in that tree to make it useful, because currently it's not at all.
Well, I mean, I think as well they're going to need to do something with supports because it seems like 2017 and season 7 is going to be the year of the diver. Considering the diver reworks that are coming out this year, I know they've talked about doing Rek'Sai next, which hurts and breaks my heart. And
Sadness.
and plus we just had a huge rework that has been announced that we've touched on before, and so there's I just think that they're going to need to do a lot more with supports in regards to giving them more tools to peel, both for melee supports and tank supports as well as the mage supports, because I can understand exactly why mage supports are big right now.
Yeah, it's frustrating because I feel like the keystone that you'll want to default to, you can get on an item, and
exactly.
That's not okay. There's a problem there. When you can just buy Knights of Out and you get a strictly better version of that keystone. And it's but Knights of Out is a super corner casey item where you don't want it all the time. And I mean, maybe that changes when Redemption gets nerfed, which is coming.
Yeah.
But it's going to be weird. So.
Well, there's some champions that just utilize it better than anyone, right? Like Braum,
Yeah.
Nightweave Hour is always going to be insane on him just because that's always his job.
Yeah.
If you're playing Braum correctly, you're positioned correctly, you're actually peeling for the ADC, you're already doing what that does, and that item just it gives you the ability to do that job so much better. But besides him, is there any real other champion that actually his correct positioning is literally always in front of the ADC at all times? There's no one else, right? There's a few that are supposed to stand kind of near him.
Alistair,
like Leona. Yeah, Alistair's also pretty decent for that too, because you do want to block a lot of the skill shots and you can afford to tank all of them because you have your ultimate and stuff like that. But besides those two champions, there's not really a whole lot of champions that are incentivized to stand directly on top of you.
Yeah.
There's a couple tank supports that you could argue with that with how Callisto works now. But even still, it's
yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be weird. I think that's an easy fix. I think that we'll see that right after, because I think what's going to happen after this Colossus nerf is all of the supports, our win rate's going to just they're already bad, and it's just going to get worse, and Riot's going to see that. And I mean, you're already seeing it in pro play, right? These mage supports are huge, and Colossus isn't nerfed for pro play yet. So now imagine that you nerf them all, and they're just going to disappear. There aren't going to be any. So it's going to be, and they're going to have to try to peel this next guy that we're going to talk about that's about to be unleashed on to the servers.
Onto the rift.
So let's talk about Warwick. He's coming, right? So he's in this patch that's coming up. I think he looks awesome, personally. I think they did a great job, at least visually and stuff. We talked about this a little bit last cast, but I mean, he looks super sweet. And finally, we've got how his stuff works. So we're going to talk about Warwick today. What's going to be good on him, how he works. Really high level. We're not going to go deep on numbers and things like that. Generally, people know, most of the times when they do these reworks, the champion's real good. Hint. They're always real good, and then they tune them down. So this guy's probably going to be very good when he hits, release. The big thing with Warwick that I think is going to be interesting is he's a beginner jungler. He's always sort of been that. He's always sort of served that role. And he's going to be an overtuned, easy to play champion, which is going to be very frustrating.
Do I smell more Juggernaut reworks?
Yeah, it's gonna be a Scion-esque sort of situation. If you remember Scion, he was so frustrating to play against, and I have a feeling Warwick will be very similar. So,
and I think it was Ghostcrawler or Meddler, someone that said that this was the first time in reworking a champion that the team working on it dove really into what it means to be a new player and have that low skill floor, but also have depth to the champion as well. And so they really went into what does it look like for a new player to jungle? What do they need? But also limiting that so that, higher elo, it doesn't get abused. But I mean, just numbers wise and the way his kit works, I think it's still obviously going to be overpowered when he walks in. But I do like that Riot's giving that kind of stuff more attention.
Yeah. So let's kind of go through what Warwick does. So if you remember, old Warwick was a drain. I'm not going to go into his whole kit, but old Warwick was a drain tank that basically had one completely useless ability that didn't do anything, and he just was sort of old school. He was one of the very first champions made. But the big thing of Warwick that everybody remembers is he would push R, and he would completely jump on a target, suppress them, and then hit them a bunch of times. and do a bunch of damage. And the core like thing of the Warwick was when you pushed R, you froze somebody, hit them a bunch of times, and it always did on hit effects. So you've always built like on hit stuff with Warwick. And I think they've done a good job, at least in my opinion, of sort of keeping that, right? I mean, he's still the on-hit guy. He's still a drain tank. But they've made him interesting now, and interesting and fun to play. So do you want to talk about like what the abilities do? Do you want to go through those, Projector, one by one? And we'll kind of...
I'll just go through really, really quickly so that basically, his passive means that his basic attacks deal bonus magic damage, and if he's below half health, then the bonus damage also heals him for the same amount that it does. So that's his passive. That's always on. So his magic damage, or his autos always do magic and physical damage. His Q, Jaws of the Beast, is a bite attack. He lunges forward and bites his target, so it's a tiny gap closer. And he heals for some of the damage dealt. And if you hold down the key, then he actually leaps behind the target. And it follows through like an Ezreal E or a Flash or any gap closer that they use to get away. If you Q them at the same time and hold it down, then you'll follow them through it.
So that's really cool compared to his old Q, right? Like, yeah. I mean, so the old Q was like just push Q, gain a bunch of life, do a bunch of damage, you know? So now this is a movement piece to this. Sort of like what they did with Rengar's Q. So they're kind of doing this a little more as like tacking movement onto an auto attack, which I think is interesting.
They give you a little bit of option for how you want to position with it too, whether it does just jump to them, or if you're in a scenario where you're not jumping in a tower or the entire enemy team, you can afford to go behind them and literally cut off some of their escape routes as well.
Yeah, and that's what I love about that is it's very thematic with him, which is like someone's running away from the uncaged wrath of Zon, so he jumps in between them and their escape route. Yeah. Like that's
pretty neat. If you're like thematically he's amazing. I mean, like I think it also like there's this is a teaching tool, right? Is like, hey, sometimes you just want to do damage. You know, sometimes you just want to trade, but sometimes you want to all in them. You know, and that's basically what Q is. Like hold the button to all in, you know, push Q to trade. So I like it. I think it's good.
Yep. And it also applies on hit effects. So that is also something to know. Okay, so W is Blood Hunt. And it's a passive and an active. The passive is the enemy champions with less than half health leave behind a global blood trail leading to them and are blood hunted. And so Warwick's kind of your screen becomes kind of like this red aura, and you'll see this kind of red line or streak. Depending on the severity or the lower their health is how much more defined it is. And I like the way this works. It leads to the enemy champion, but it doesn't necessarily reveal them directly. So you kind of have to, it just stops where they are, but it doesn't just like the old one, I think just showed you exactly where they were and revealed them on the map. Yeah. This one, you still kind of have to be smart about it and what you're doing. But he also has... he also gets increased attack speed against targets that are blood hunted that are tagged by this passive, and massively increased out of combat movement speed when moving toward them. And these bonuses are tripled against enemies with low health. The attack speed bonus works against neutral monsters. So if you're attacking neutral monsters as they get lower, you'll attack faster unless you switch targets. It doesn't just give you attack speed for the rest of the fight. It's only when attacking that target.
Gotcha.
That type of tracking actually kind of reminds me of the Rek'Sai sonar pings, where it does like kind of tell you where they are, but it doesn't tell you what they're doing, what kind of direction they're going in either, because they're dodging whatever. And man, for counter jungling, that seems real nasty, because if you're a champion that has like a really weak early game, like a Wukong jungle or whatever, that where
he knows where you are. Yeah.
Not only does he know where you are, but he can also get to tell how low you are too.
Yeah.
Which means he knows for sure if he needs to fight, so he'll be able to go into that jungle and he'll be able to basically either kick you out or kill you out.
Well, and I like this. I like the change to not like directly revealing them, and I'll talk about why when we get to the ultimate. But his W also has an active, which is the nearest enemy champion is blood hunted, no matter what their full health is, or no matter what their health level is. So all of the passive like information all applies to the nearest enemy champion, but the active has a long cooldown, but it cools down twice as fast while no enemies are being hunted. So I think it's like a 30-second cooldown, and then or something like that. Like it's actually decently long. His E does no damage. It is Primal Howl. Warwick takes reduced damage for a short duration, so this really helps his clear. And at the end of the duration, or if activated again, Warwick howls, causing nearby enemies to flee in fear. So this is just great guaranteed CC if you're near enough. Doesn't do any damage, but really gives you some survivability outside of just lifesteal. It gives you a little bit more tank.
Does it fear minions as well?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. It does.
No, it does, because it really helps you. Like, all of Warwick's abilities are all single target.
Do you think he's going to have a jungle pattern that's similar to how Zac does, where you intentionally allow yourself to get lower health?
You mean Olaf? So yeah, like Olaf. I think so too. Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, like, he doesn't gain like attack speed based on his health. It's only the minions. Like,
well, it's the passive that heals him if he himself is lower HP is what I'm referring to.
Oh, okay, yeah. So if he,
like you wait to pop a potion, so you hit that.
If he's only below, but if he's, I think it's gonna be really hard to get him low like that though, because he drains. Like, if you see the way his clear works, it's extremely slow, but it's mega safe. Like, it's like the most healthy clear you've ever seen. I mean, he's like about a fiddlesticks type clear where it's mega slow, but like he takes no damage like at all. I mean, he literally just walks around the jungle like autoing stuff forever.
Okay.
And the big thing about this E, on top of the fear, so like I really like this new E because I think it fixes a bunch of things. Is like, we're gonna get to what his ultimate does here in a minute, but his ultimate is a skill shot. So like if you whiff the skill shot, the E makes it still useful, right? Like, so you like, it teaches players like, hey, get on this guy and do something, like make him, There's also like the damage reduction on this thing is huge. It scales up to like, I think it's like 60%, doesn't it? Isn't it 20, 40, 60? Am I right 60%? On that number? 60%? It's really big. Like,
how long does the duration last?
It's not long. Like, it's very short. Let's see. So his E, so it's a long cooldown. So it's 15 down to 11, but it's, okay, yeah, it's 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So I don't normally like to go into numbers, but I think that's like significant, right? Because at max rank, it's 55% damage reduction, and it's 2.5 seconds long.
That's crazy.
So it's a 2.5 second, basically, Alistair ultimate that has a fear at the end of it.
Yeah.
An AoE fear.
It's only at the end of it, right?
Or if it's reactivated. So
if
if you want to use it earlier, you can, and then the fear is a second long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That ability is really good. I mean,
if you use it early, if you're using it early, you're giving up some damage reduction, but you're securing a fear. And if you use it later, you're getting more damage reduction with the risk of either not needing the fear or you wanting to use it in a different way.
Yeah. I love this. I think it's great. I think it's super interesting. Yeah.
It gives them a lot of options in team fights too, which is something I really appreciate, because Warwick never really did anything else besides that. Like, he would either run at someone using Ghost or Flash, or Ghost preferably. You don't really run at someone with just Flash. Using Ghost to basically start to get on someone to hit them in order to force them to use cooldowns that would normally be able to interrupt your ultimate, and then ult them. Or if they didn't have option to have something to interrupt it, you would either ult a person who could interrupt it, or you would just plain start out by ulting them. And with a combination of stuff like Blade of the Ruined King and like Fervor Battle and stuff like that, there used to be a Warwick build, I think it was about a season and a half ago, where you went full AD Warwick and you would ult someone and they would die from full health from all the on hits. And so like, this is like incentivizes you to build a slower build, where it's, he's going to have that mid game spike, where he does get tanky, and then you do have those options where you buy the on hits and you just maul people for a very, very long time.
I think he's great too, because like, it's very like apparent, like especially for a new player, like, oh gosh, like I don't want to take damage, like I should push this button, and then you push the button, and then like, oh, I want him to stop moving, like I push the button again, so like, very simple, but like there's a lot of play to this, like there's some mastery there. But it's not hard, you just stand on a guy and push E and like, good job, I like the new E a lot versus especially the old one that didn't really do it.
Do you think lane Warwick will be a thing? Because he doesn't seem that bad in lane now, actually.
I mean, he'll be very similar to old top Warwick, right? Like, he'll be a sustained monster. He'll just sort of sit up there and like get bigger, and like you won't be able to kill him.
If his early game damage is as bad as you say it is, he probably won't be that great as top.
Yeah.
Because you just have to build him so tanky in the early game that he'd have to wait even longer for his power site to be able to really do anything.
He misses a lot of the things that good top laners have. He doesn't have percent health damage. You know, he doesn't have, like, that's the big one, is he just doesn't have percent health damage. So it's like, I mean, he's a little difficult to itemize against, right? Because he has the Q that, like, does magic, and, like, it has an AP ratio. Like, it's weird. He does, like, sort of weird mixed damage, but I think without percent health damage, like, any other tank is just going to ignore him. Like, literally ignore him. And never have to fight him ever. And then they're going to bring CC that is super reliable and tons of, like, compare him to Nautilus, right? Like, where Nautilus is going to do CC with, like, every ability, and this guy has, like, the E and his ult.
Yeah. So. Nautilus can CC you 4 times, but his rotation only does 400, so who cares?
Yeah. So so that's his E, right?
All right.
Anything else?
Yep. So
cool.
Here's his ultimate, and I love the way his ultimate. Remember, I talked about the way his W works and me loving it, and here's why. His R is called Infinite Duress. Warwick leaps in a direction and suppresses the first champion he collides with. So this is a skill shot, which means you can miss it, dealing damage and applying on-hit effects throughout the duration. The leap's distance increases based on Warwick's movement speed, so Ghost is going to be kind of a must-have on him. And the leap gets pretty darn big. It gets like a level 1 Nocturnal ultimate.
Oh, it's big, yeah. He can jump real far, yeah.
And he heals for all damage he deals during Infinite Duress. And so the actual, what he does when he lands and suppresses, it's kind of a throwback to his original ult. He does a few quick swipes at you and you are suppressed. But it's not as oppressive. The suppression isn't as oppressive as the old Warwick ult is. It doesn't last nearly as long. And the key here is that Warwick is immune to crowd control effects during the leap, but not during the suppression. So if you're trying to stop Warwick, wait till right when he lands, and that's when you want to hit him. And the reason I like this is because his W doesn't necessarily reveal you, right? It only reveals kind of where you are, but not exactly your champion model, which means that it still's going to take skill for you in understanding how that blood trail works that follows the enemy and everything to land your ultimate, and you can miss it. So it's going to punish bad players or blind jumps a little bit more, and gives you some counterplay as the enemy, because if he misses his ult, he's missed a huge part of his CC and guaranteed locking you down.
The other thing is he's another guy that's like blue trinket is like critical on, right? Like because you're gonna want to blue trinket and then jump.
I'm actually really surprised they made it. I guess with it being a skill shot, that'd have to be first champion it collides with. You can body block this ability extremely hard.
Yes,
like, this gives a lot of value of tanks.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that you're gonna have to play New Warwick is you're gonna have to flank really well. So it's gonna be like similar to how Poppy works. Like Poppy doesn't really work, doesn't really do anything. You just want someone in a straight line. But when you flank with Poppy, the champion becomes insane. So, and I think the way that the mechanics of his ult works, if you're not flanking, I don't think it really does much at all.
He's the other thing. Well, one of the scenarios where he's really good is turning a fight. So, like where a fight has happened and you're running, and he's low. Like maybe he's the guy like sort of holding them back, and like then he just turns on someone, pushes R, and then he basically like heals for all the damage, because the R does, like at first rank it does 175 plus 167.5 bonus AD. So it's like it's a lot of damage, right? And then it applies on hit effects 3 times. So he gets his passive, right? And then he's going to heal for 100% of that, all of it, not just like a piece of it like you would with Blade or whatever. Like, so he's basically going to be like full health. Like
his dueling potential is insane then.
So like he can get low and then get you and then be like doing the same thing again. He's going to be really good at turning a fight, right? Initiating is going to be hard because
he's going to want to wait. He's going to want to wait for the right moment to get in on their back line. He'd be great against a Jhin, or someone who really wants to like sit far back and unload their kit. I think he'd do really well in.
He's a great bot lane ganger too.
I'm also interested in the ghost changes along with the way that his ult works, because now that it is a ramp, like if you have the movement speed from Blood Trail, the ramping movement speed from Ghost, and his ultimate, you're gonna be able to snatch people from.
And it's 2.5. I love the way they did it too, because he leaps. Basically, it's 2.5 seconds worth of movement speed in a direction. So it calculates. It says, okay, what's your movement speed right now, and like, how far could you go in 2.5 seconds? And that's how far he jumps.
And the animation looks amazing. The jump is downright terrifying if you're not expecting it from Fog of War. Like, I love thematically, I love this champion. I love his kit. I love what they've done with this rework.
I actually love that. The one thing that's really interesting about him is they didn't add an indicator like Rengar, where like he knows, like, no, this guy just like jumps on you. It's not like Nocturne. Like, think of all these ultimate, like where you push R on Nocturne, everything gets dark. Yeah. Rengar, you see the little indicator. There's none of that.
They made that change
with
Zac too. Yeah, they gave him the circle for his slingshot, where there's always something to help.
There's nothing here. He just jumps.
A little bit more reaction time before he pops in.
No, all he does is jump.
Does not have that.
Like,
there is one thing I forgot to mention. I saw this in the champion spotlight, which is that if you activate his E just before you jump, it will automatically proc as soon as it lands.
Okay, so you can fear people to get a.
So you can fear people. You can guaranteed fear whoever you need to fear when you land.
But I mean, they're suppressed. So does it always?
It's for the other people to not interrupt it.
Yeah, so this is to help guarantee your suppression goes off. So if there's a Thresh nearby, if there's a Leona nearby, it's to make sure that they can't stop you.
It's a good escape too, right? Like, I mean,
you don't need a target,
Yeah, so you can just R like super far away, and he's immune to CC when it happens. So like,
the old Malphite ult out.
Yeah, like, so the stun is coming that's going to kill you. Like, maybe you're getting ganked. Like, this is actually really good against a gank. So like, you're like running, the cocoon is like flying, and you just push R, and you're just like, you just jump out. And the cool thing about the cooldown on this is it's much lower than the old one. Like, it's not like the old one where it like took forever. It's like 110, 90, 70. So like, you're getting to use this thing pretty often. And
and I feel like he's useless even in between, or useful even in between ults.
Yeah, that's the difference between new work and old work. I think that's probably like one of the most startling ones.
He was so garbage
without your ult.
I mean, he's still not mobile without his ult, which is fair. And he's going to be taking ghosts, so getting over walls really is going to be dependent on his ult. But like, he can actually fight and do things. In between. So I think this is really good.
I also like the interaction between his how good his ult is going to be, but I also like how the kind of play you have with slows. Like, Nasus Wither is going to new.
He's not jumping away. Oh well.
No, absolutely not.
But here's the thing: is like, it says so he's immune when the jump. So it says he leaps.
He's only immune while he's in the air, so it's like Shyvana ultimate.
Okay,
he's
so yeah, Wither does like completely turn it off. Basically, you're gonna like boop, like it's gonna be like a.
You're gonna go nowhere.
It's gonna be a hop. You're just gonna go and like go nowhere because of the Wither, or like Zillion ult or the Zillion bomb.
Oh man,
slow. Like, if you get the Zillion slow on him, he's not gonna move like at all.
Or Thresh box, 99% slow.
Yeah, you're just like.
Oh, I can't move anywhere in 2.5 seconds, so I definitely can't ult anywhere in 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And he looks cool. Plus, they made his model. Like, this was the big thing for me, and this is like a subtle thing that I don't know if everybody will notice, but because his R like has to land on them and it's a skill shot, they made him like really big. Like, he's big now. Like, he's not like he used to be, where like Warwick was really tiny. He's like this little bitty wolf, and that was like a thing of like old League of Legends. Like, the champions were much smaller. Like, he's like Scion big. I mean, he's very large on the screen, so it's going to be easy. I assume that it's going to be very fuzzy, like with how it's
a VW bus flying at you.
Yeah, I mean, it like just touch him, like touch any part of them, and you're going to get it.
Does Iron Potion buffs that too? Doesn't it? Because it makes your hitbox bigger.
Yeah, I would assume, right? Huh. So yeah, captains or whatever. Is it Elixir of Iron? I think
Elixir of Iron, yeah.
The one that gives the captains.
That's one that gives you tenacity, and then it gives you, I think, increased health and a larger character model.
Yeah, his voice is really cool too. Like, he sounds cool. Like, he looks awesome. I mean, he is a really neat looking champion now.
I like that they also reference his lore more, because like, it was correct. Like, in the lore, like, Singed made him. He wasn't just a wolf. He put a bunch of stuff into him. He was actually like a chimera, and they're like, so we're gonna give him like features of other animals, not just wolf, because it was like, okay, Singe just turned him into a wolf. You read his lore, and you're like, that's not what happened at all. What the what?
Yeah. So retconning,
Yeah.
actively here. I mean, I think he's gonna be awesome. Like, I don't know that he's necessary. I think he's good, but I don't know that, like, without percent health damage and without some of the tools, like the mobility tools that some of the other junglers have, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's like a tier 1 jungler, but I think serving the role of like an easy to play like starter jungler, his clear's gonna be super healthy. His kit's very binary, like run at somebody, push these buttons, and he's gonna be useful. Like, and he's gonna be fun to play. You're gonna have buttons to hit. The old one just ran around and pushed Q. Like, you didn't do.
Do you think he's gonna have a hard time not being kited? Because Q isn't all that long.
He's gonna get kited forever.
Yeah, and if you're slowed, your ult has no range. So if it's one of those things like he's basically just kiteable like old Warwick was, but he does have the ability to have for Q to come back off cooldown to give another jump and stuff like that, so it's not quite so bad. But
yeah,
well, and I think his ultimate, I mean, Nocturne ultimate for me was really big because it taught me a lot about where I was at being the wrong place at the wrong time. Being across the map when my team was going to fight on the other side of the map, and my ultimate was really forgiving for that. And Warwick is going to be the same way, where you almost really don't want to be with your team when a fight breaks out. You want to show up later. You want to be in a different place because you want the enemy to forget about you, and you want them to open up for a flank, because you can't just jump straight. Like with Nocturne, I can point and click your backline and ignore your front. With Warwick, I need a clear path between me and you. Minions can be in the way, whatever, but I need a clear path between me and whoever my target is, or else I'm not going to get where I need to be.
Yeah. The other cool thing is, like, he doesn't have to worry about how low he is to be able to gank. So, like, because of the way his R works, like, if he's really low and he's clearing, right, and then he, like, sees somebody and wants to jump at him, like, if you jump and you land the skill shot, like, you're at full, like, you're fine. So, like, that's kind of interesting. Also, there's, like, some play there. Is like, do I use my jump to start the fight, or do I wait? Like, maybe if I can run
try and bait him out with the heal.
Yeah, get some, like, damage in and then R onto a guy, then get the suppression and sort of have 2 health bars.
Yeah.
He's cool. He's got some play, whereas the old one was, like, super brain dead. You just you did nothing.
I definitely think the bigger build is going to be Blood Razor into other items, Blood Razor, Wit's End, Bork, those kind of. But I also think that Cinderhulk, Titanic Hydra will be a viable build on him for the AoE, and the fact that he does, because of the damage reduction on his E, like, he synergizes well with resistances that you would go with a tank build. And we might see a little bit of kind of what the Rek'Sai treatment is currently, because he has great sustain. And with Tiamat and Titanic, he could have great clear speeds as the game goes on too.
Yeah.
So I think he's got a
clear is
couple
rough, but I think, like, after that, like, once he gets like a Tiamat, he should be able to clear really well.
Do you think he's going to turn into a Bork tank?
I don't know.
I think he could work well with Bork. I actually see Ravenous Hydra or Titanic Hydra, depending on what build you go. I see both of those being really good for the AoE. He is 100% single target as far as his damage is concerned.
Yeah,
he really wants attack speed, though, because of the way his like passive works. Because he has built-in, like, on hit. Like, he's
I see someone.
Yeah, he's like Master Yi, except he is on all the time.
I could see someone buying a Tiamat and sitting on it for a bit.
Yeah.
And then going into Blood Razor, Blade of the Ruin King, or some of these other. Wit's End is still going to be great on him into.
Like the only champion it's good on other than Teemo.
Yeah.
Like, it's
but he's gonna do well with on-hit builds. He really is. And so I think he'll have some creative build paths, and some fun to try with. I'll be excited to try him once the bans wear off.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited to build him like full attack speed, like all attack speed. Razor, Wit's End. All of it. Like, give me it all. And I think one of his abilities has an AP ratio, so, like, I can build Nashor's Tooth and just, like,
man, that was so funny. Literally they announce him, they release his kit, and then someone on Reddit goes, "Oh, hey, he has no AP ratios." And within like an hour, they were like, "All right, he has 100% AP ratio on his Q," or something like that. Like within an hour, Riot put it on there. It was almost like it was a test to see who could figure it out the fastest.
Yeah, they just slammed it on. Like, it's like they knew they were gonna put it right. They're just waiting on somebody to say something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys want to move on to some listener questions?
Yeah, I think so. So like, I mean, that's New York. He's cool. I think if you're starting in
He
the
does look
jungler,
very cool.
really cool champion to learn. I think he'll teach you a lot about the game. He'll teach you how to land a skill shot.
Yeah.
He's fun.
Agreed.
And he looks cool. He goes, oh, you know, that's cool. Like, Howlin' Wolves are neat. So, all right. The first question is from a man named KMNOP, Canop. He wrote us a book. Really, really nice email. He kind of goes into a couple things. He said, you know, he played a game or two with us and some other people from the Trinity Force podcast, which is a podcast that a bunch of friends of ours. He says, you know, I played off casually. I main jungle. I play a lot of Vi, Sejuani, Shyvana, Mumu, Skarner. He's Silver 4. He wanted to talk a little bit. He's got two parts to this question, and I'm sort of paring it down because it's a, you know, book here that he wrote. Basically, he's got some questions about pathing and clear, which I'm going to leave to Projector because that's the boring part of jungling. And then, and then he's got a question that I'm actually interested in, which is we'll do this part first, and then we'll get more into the depth on the pathing part, which is something that Projector is much better at than I am. So the main question he has later in his thing is, if my bot lane is getting 4-man ganked and I want to try to go save them, how do you know when to make the hike to the action and when to cut your losses and just try to steal some enemy camp? So basically what he's saying is, like, bot's getting ganked, what do I do? And I'm like mid lane. Like, I think this depends a lot, like, on where, like, you are and what champion you are. So, like, if you're Nocturne, hit R and get in there, buddy, you know, unless like exactly. 2 of them are dead already. But in general, the general rule is, like, take something somewhere else on the map because that shit's already over. Like, it's they're already dead.
Yeah.
They're already sinking. Like, those dudes are dead. Like, if your bot's getting 4-man ganked, you know who's the only people that are going to affect that gank is those people that are already there. Like, if they make some sort of insane play and get out, good on them. But, like, you're not going to affect it. The best thing you can do is try to pressure somewhere else on the map so that when those 4-man ganks happen over and over, the most frustrating thing in the world is to be, like, a bot laner and get 4-man ganked, like, over and over, and nothing happens anywhere else on the map, and your jungler's sort of like, maybe I'll come down there, and he shows up and you're both dead, and then he soaks the wave maybe, or just stands there and watches them take the turret and then, like, doesn't take anything else. Like, just go somewhere else on the map and take something. Like, put pressure somewhere else because, like, it's already over.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of things that you can do in that scenario where, like, it's like, are you in your top jungle? Okay, you can go and pressure gank top because you know for a fact that if the mid laner is still in mid, he's there, or if they're 4-man gank bottom, you know that it's only going to be a 2-on-1. No one can really help that top laner, so you can afford to do a really sloppy, aggressive gank where maybe you die the tower, maybe you can wait really, really, really long time in your CCing abilities because you know for a fact no one's going to be able to help that guy. Same thing. You can also take enemy jungle camps, whatever. You can also just go into top tower or top lane, whatever, and help push down the tower itself. Because you know, as soon as after that 4-man gank is done, whether they live or die, they're probably taking a massive amount of damage, or they're both dead. Either case scenario, they're going to take the tower. So you need to get something that's a really good objective to kind of to balance that factor, because especially they're not going to be able to interrupt you. So if you in the top laner can chunk that guy out, but the tower's still a lot of HP, you can then move down and take Herald, or you can take the tower itself, or you can take. Like, if your top laner just went back, like, worst case scenario, you can steal some of his camps and stuff like that. But that's, like, really the last thing you want to do, because there's, like, so many better objectives that are around that area of the map that you should be able to get. And if you're already in bot side and they're getting 4-man ganked, roam down there, because even if they die, whatever, they probably will take enough time if you're in nearby vicinity to be able to help at least somewhat. You can go and clean up. But if you're on the top side and they're ganking bot side, don't get anywhere near that. Just take a large objective on the side of the map, because in the 30 seconds it takes you to walk down there, it's already gone. It's done. And unless they all decide to stay at, like, a bar of HP, then go for it. Go get that triple kill, because you earned it, buddy.
Well, and this is symptomatic, I think, of one thing, because he says, I sometimes find myself running around trying to respond to everything the enemy team is doing. And that tells me that you really don't know why you are where you are.
Yeah.
And so you need to be deciding, why am I going up to Krugs right now? Or why am I going here? Why am I taking this scuttle now, 2 minutes before the objective is going to be up, instead of, 45 seconds before the the objective is going to be up so that I can benefit from the scuttle while I'm taking the objective. You need to know why you are where you are and try to be more proactive with your game so that you're at the right spots, whether that's your warding the river, warding the enemy. I like to leave a pink ward right in that tiny little brush by mid lane, or right behind their wolf camp in that brush. So I can see where their enemy jungler is and I can call out like, hey, their jungler's bot side, be careful. Or hey, their jungler's top side, be careful. Mid lane, be careful. I just saw their jungler there. So you need to do more to be proactive. Even if it's not proactively making ganks or something, it's proactive about knowing where the enemy jungler is so that you can be in the right position. And the only time that I roam to a gank or to a lane that just got ganked is if my presence can stop them from taking the tower, which means it wasn't a 4-man gank. It was probably like a 2-man gank. It was their top laner and their jungler that killed our top laner, and I happened to be doing Krugs when it happened, so I can just go stop the tower, or there's free farm there for me. But I typically, if you died, you died. Like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna go make it worse.
Yeah, nope. It's just gonna be worse if I go down there. And the other thing, the last piece I would add to that is like every time the other jungler, this is the way going off the point that you made about like know why you're going somewhere. Every time you see their jungler on the map, what he's doing is he's offering you trade. He's saying, "Hey, I'm going here and I'm gonna do this. What do you want?" You know, and if you just like dirtle around and like walk down there, you know what you're saying? You know what I want to do? I don't want to walk bot for 30 seconds and do nothing while you do whatever. But like if you can choose to make that a different trade, you could choose, well, he's going to go bot, so I'm going to take his Gromp, you know, or I'm going to take his top turret. And that's like what League is in general. It's like economics. Like you do this and then I take this. And it's little, like sometimes people win. So, like you'll talk about it. That's not a good trade. Like we got top tower, but we lost bot tower and we lost dragon, or, you know, so League is just a bunch of trades. And like, whenever that's already happening, the best trade that you can make is taking something else and just hope for the best down there. So
hopefully equal or greater value.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's happening. This is a reality situation. So well, like try to make it the best you can.
That's also why initiative is so important in League of Legends, because if I take a tower and I'm offering you a trade, and you in response take a tower, the time it takes you to make that response to take on the tower, I can choose to put forth the initiative to take something else. It's one of those things where it's like, if I am going to trade towers with you all game, whoever took the first tower wins that trade. And we'll probably inevitably win the game. That gives us a lot faster access to inhibitors like that. Barring some type of insane outplay, where you're pushing whatever and they're pushing, and then somebody got like 1v4 as your team, when he's supposed to just be like, you know, clearing the way, but somehow manage to find an opportunity to kill all 4 of you, or at least slow you down enough where they then get the initiative because they're one person sent back to stop them did not make the same play. Sure, you can kind of like tip that balance. For the most part, initiative is very, very important on that. If I take an objective first and you take one in response, I'm still ahead of you, because the time it takes you to respond to that, I can already be going to do something else, which is also, again, probably more important.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's it. Like, try to do something. Like, don't just do nothing. That's the biggest thing. Like, anything is better than nothing. Like, and if you're going to go bot, have a reason for going down there. Like, oh, I think they're going to be low. I think they're going to dive too hard. You know, I can clean up, like, as a Master Yi or whatever. But have a good reason. Think about what you're going down there. And then do you want to touch on the pathing piece? Like,
he says he always feels really behind in farm as a jungler. And so he wants to work out how to path, how to clear well, and how to balance that with ganking and farming. And my advice to you is always farm in the direction you're wanting to gank. So what you don't want to do is farm Krugs and then chickens and then go gank bot. What I would rather you do is farm chickens, then Krugs, and then work your way to gank bot. Or so farm in the direction that you're towards the lane that you're wanting to go to. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to go straight from your fountain into a lane, unless you really have a 100% guaranteed lane gank. You're going to waste a ton of time and a lot of farm. So you never want to just walk straight to a lane from fountain. You always want to go towards one of your camps. The other thing is you kind of want to always farm linearly, not just randomly around, because the way you do your first clear will largely determine the respawn pattern for later. So you want to make sure that you're not doing like Gromp and then doing Raptors, right? Gromp Wolves. You want to clear a side of the jungle at a time. If you can clear that side of the jungle and you're up, clear it. And then last but not least, for first clears, I tend to only do. You can do first clears with Krugs and Raptors as some of your first camps. Like, say you start at red buff, then you can do Krugs and Raptors with some champions. But if I start red side, and at this elo, this works just fine. You can start red buff, go to blue buff, and then work your way from Gromp back to Krugs, just fine. And it's a perfectly fine clear. So if you're unsure of like your champion's clear potential, that's a good route to go. But I always, if I start blue buff, then I'll just go blue buff, Gromp, Wolves, and then I'll do red, chickens and Krugs, or Krugs and chickens, wherever I want to end up. But you want to plan out your route and decide where you want to be 2 minutes from now. That's what you want to decide.
The other thing I would say, if you're a jungler and you're silver 4, you are not farming enough. Almost as always the case. I mean, because if you watch silver, like low silver, like, you know, bronze junglers, they just never farm. They just gank over and over, and like in that MMR, you can literally farm to where you are like 1v5 god, and like you can just come out and be like 2, 3, like we were talking about earlier, where you come out and you are 3 levels ahead. It is very easy to do that at that MMR because all they want to do is fight all the time, and like, when you do have to fight, make sure you're ready. Like, and they'll give you all the time in the world because they aren't going to win the game before like 45 minutes anyway, right? So like, pick a scaling jungler that you could farm on. So like you mentioned, you play Shyvana, those types of, like, play Shyvana, play Vi, because you can hard farm on those champions, get huge, and like only come out when you are like destroying people. Vi especially. You know, that first gank at 6, you can be so far ahead of them where, like, regularly, if you're a jungler and you're coming out at level 6, a lot of times if you go bot, they're both level 4, and you will just kill them both. I mean, it's very easy. Well, farm a lot, farm more.
The last thing I will say is the way you're farming matters, and that is the way you're using your abilities. If you're Vi and you're initiating into a camp with Q and you're missing 1 or 2 of the minions, you're wasting time. If you're not lining them up so that your E pushes through all of them, you're wasting your time. So make sure that you're using your abilities effectively in the jungle to farm as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we managed to dig through those. Anything else you would add, Contractor?
As far as the jungling was, like, this is just kind of like a Weaver tip thing. It's almost never correct to level 2 gank.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Especially at silver 4, because you don't know why you're doing it, right? Like,
yeah. Well, there's, I mean, in higher levels, I think that's even more of a mistake because that the enemy jungler knows for a fact that you do not have one of your buffs.
Yeah.
So if you level 2 gank top lane and you only have blue buff, your red buff is gone.
Yeah. So
it's like 90% of the time it's gone. So you need to make sure that level 2 gank is like 100% guarantee going to work through flash, through thunder spells, through worst case scenarios. Like, it has to work.
Yep.
Because if you're going against any other decent jungler, your second buff will already be gone.
Farming is free money. Okay, ganking is not. Yep. You don't know if you're gonna get it.
It's potential.
Like, yeah, it's maybe there's a gank. Maybe I'll get money. Farming is free. Like, it's free. You just do it. Like, and it's way more XP. So farm more.
Do you think there's a lot of value in being able to evaluate the players in your team before you hit level 4 or 5 as a jungler?
I think at that MMR, no, because like people just do dumb stuff forever. Like, I don't even like. I got to be honest. When I like was playing earlier in this season, I think I got placed like silver 5. Like, I went 8-2 and got silver 5. I literally just didn't even pay attention to what my teammates were doing. I just ran around and killed a jungler like a whole bunch of times and just took free money off the map and got super fed. And then it didn't matter what they were doing. Because like all like paying attention to like, you can pay attention to the champions because like I want to gank for like people like Nautilus or like people with CC, like not like, you know, my mid lane Master Yi at level 3. But like, for the most part, at least in my opinion, like early, like low silver, like don't even worry about them. Just farm and get huge, and you can literally just kill them all, and like take every objective on the map, and like don't worry so much about like, you know, that you start worrying about that stuff as you get up into like goldish territory. Like low silver, like silver 1, silver 2 is when people actually start playing their champions. Before that, they're just kind of like buttons, you know, and they just doing their thing. So
if you're Shyvana and their jungler shows top and you're past like level 4 or 5 and you're not taking dragon the second they show top, you're playing Shyvana wrong.
Yeah.
Like you got to learn your champion's strengths and focus on getting yourself big. So
yeah. So I think that's good. Yeah.
As far as he asked one more question, I can answer this one really quick, which
Okay.
is just flex or ranked, or flex or solo queue. He doesn't know which one to take more seriously. If you're going to play with more than one other person, play flex. If you're going to play on your own, ranked solo is taken more seriously than flex is, but they both have their merits. Flex will teach you a lot more about how to play against coordinated teams. I can tell you that much. So play whatever you want to play and have the most fun for yourself. Ultimately.
If what you're looking for is a proper evaluation skill, I would go into solo duo.
Yes.
Because it will rely a little bit more on your own personal carry potential, and flex queue is about more synergy, and it's something you eventually want to play on a team, whatever like that. You want to find group of people that you want to consistently play with. Flex queue is a good way to do that. Not only to just kind of like find people to play with who potentially like want to play more games with you, but also it's a format that relies more on synergy. You're going to see a fuck ton more Orianna in flex queue than you're going to see in solo duo queue.
Yeah.
Not that Orianna's bad in solo duo queue. It's because Orianna just has so many insane synergies with just all the champions. Like most every melee champion or just a good champion with a good gap closer, any of that stuff like that is going to be insane with Orianna. So you're going to see her pick a lot more of that. So you want to see basically, and also that helps kind of warp your champion pool to replay more champions who have high synergy rates with a bunch of champions, not only with the people you play with, but it's just what you're looking for. If you want a proper evaluation of skill and basically your own personal carry potential and play more stuff like Riven, Fiora, Mastery, that kind of thing, sure, go for it. Flex queue is more about synergy.
Only Rangu all the time, like 24/7, right?
Actually, this would also be kind of cool if solo duo also helps you a lot with your dueling, as opposed to flex queue helps a lot more with your team fighting, because a lot more people are focused on that instead. Same thing with objective control. Flex queue is a lot better for consistently getting objective control. Solo duo a lot of times just evolves into some weird awful clown fiesta of team deathmatch.
Yep.
So,
which is that's the game I love. That's the League of Legends I love.
That's because you're a Rengar player.
So yeah, I mean, to play what you want, man. I think that actually leads into our next question very well, because so Kindy writes in and he says, do you want to read this one, Projector? Go ahead and read this one.
Sure. It says, I find that I struggle to laugh at my own mistakes, quote unquote, in League. Do you have any advice to help someone be easier on themselves while still retaining their competitiveness and want to learn? Finding that balance is felt impossible. Thank you guys and keep up the good work.
So I think Contractor should answer that one. I think this is a good one. This is a good one for James, because he is playing to win the LCS every time I play with him. Like, I mean, he is.
So what you're saying is I need to play with him more often.
He is given the business, like in chat, like, why is that guy here? What is he doing? And like he is playing 100% to be better every second of the game.
From a constructive place.
I know.
Could I go about it a different way? Yes, I could.
So how do you help? How did you pass beyond the be easier on themselves while retaining your competitiveness? Like, how did you stay easy on yourself?
The number one thing I try to do is not to make the same mistake over and over again. Like just as a general thumb, try to make the same mistake a hell of a lot less. But it's also in the same game, I never want to make the same mistake twice, ever.
Yeah, like, I shouldn't have tried to 1v1 that Zed. Whoops.
Yeah, it's completely unnecessary. If I am playing in a scenario where I'm playing a support and I'm playing even a mage support, and I am not ahead, not behind, not ahead, and there's a fed mid laner and I go to try to 1v1 them and I fail and I die because they one shot me because I have 4 or 5 kills, that was a mistake. And if I go and try and do it again in a later scenario where our goal differences is a little bit similar, a little bit closer now, where I'm like 2-2 and they're like 6-4, and I try to 1v1 them and I still die. So I'm saying I made the same mistake. It's a little bit of a different scenario, and I had a slightly higher chance of winning that, but it was still the same exact mistake. I fought a Fedman winner, and I was not on the same level, like damage-wise, level-wise, solid, stuff like that, and I shouldn't have done it. Same thing where I'm playing against a pick team comp. If I am having trouble warding, because everywhere I want to go ward an objective, someone comes flying out of a bush and kills me immediately, and I make that same mistake 3 or 4 times in the game. That's something I could have done. I could have changed my build path a little bit. I could have had, like, basically, got on my keyboard and told my team that, hey, I need you guys. I will sell my Sightstone until you come with me and help me ward. Because there's only so many things where I need to ward an objective as support, and I need against certain team comps like Vi and Viger and that kind of things where they have a lot of rogue pick potential. I need people to come with me because there's going to be a lot of cases in that game where I'm going to get caught just trying to ward. But we need the wards because we can't fight without vision for the same reason they're going to pick. Otherwise, they'll just keep control of the objective and then just be able to take it. We won't do anything. So, yes, do I need my team to help me and I need them to come with me? I need to tell them, hey, you have to help me do this. I cannot do this on my own. I need you. I need you. But this is one of those things where I need to stop making that same mistake.
But so when you make that mistake over and over, what are you feeling inside you?
Disappointment.
Okay, so disappointment, right?
It's almost immediate. When I die in League, most of the time, I know that I'm dead 4 to 5 seconds before I'm dead. Either I threw an ability and I throw my snare, and in the corner of my eye, I see on my map the jungler come into vision on a ward. And I know immediately. I know exactly right then. As soon as I threw that snare, I was dead. He's going to come in. I'm going to have to try and dodge some stuff, whatever, and it's going to probably take him about 10 seconds to kill me. But I know for a fact that I'm dead. It's one of the things where you make that mistake and you know immediately. And so it's laughing at my own mistakes is me just attempting not to make the same ones, which is why whenever I make the same ones, I just tilt off the face of the planet. But I've done a very good job of not making the same ones again because I know that it does frustrate me so much because I knew as soon as I made that first one, I was like, okay, that was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. And then for me to do it again in the same game is like I said, it is completely unnecessary. I should take that as a learning lesson and a tool in game to help me stop making those mistakes.
Yeah, I mean,
it should never have happened again at all.
For me, the way that I got over the mistake thing was I just did a bunch of stuff that was where I was testing champion limits, right? Where I was I'm just going to go into these guys and see what happens. And that's the way I learned. I learned by making the mistake. If anybody's ever played with me, that's 100% how I learn is I have to make the mistake. I don't believe it to be true unless I see it happen. So I'm Rengar, I can jump on that guy.
Confirmation bias.
Rengar has been slain. And I'm well, okay. So, for me, that's how, just as long as you're learning something, mistakes or whatever, just get over it. You aren't going to get better unless you make mistakes. That's how people get better. So every mistake is an opportunity to learn. So
in the same way that you use a death in League of Legends to do something that's beneficial to your team, basically split pushing, where you force 4 people to go bot lane so you can take Baron as a fed top laner, right? It's using that same tool of dying but getting something beneficial out of it is the same way that you can use a mistake and benefit from it, because you're learning from your mistake. You're choosing not to do it again, or you're choosing to actively acknowledge the fact that you fucked up and you need to not do it again. And the best way to do that is to not put yourself in that same scenario, whether it be positioning, using a cooldown when you're not supposed to, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
It's either every single time that you die in League of Legends was either intentional, because you're doing it because you want that trade, because you're trading your death for a tower or a big objective like a Baron, whatever, and that's completely fine. Or it's not beneficial and it was not intentional, but you can still learn something. You can always learn stuff from your mistakes every single time.
Yep.
Well, and this is going to sound a bit nihilistic, but remember that it doesn't actually matter. And what I mean by that is I played a Nocturne game today. I went 12, 2, and 8, and both of my deaths were really dumb. One, I flashed into a 1v2 before I was level 6 and died. And I tried to secure a kill, and it didn't work. And then the second death, I died to Raptors midway through the game after I literally got executed.
Midway through the game?
Yeah, midway through the game after a gank. I was low, and I tried to farm Raptors.
Yeah, you had to have that juicy money, right?
And then I realized that I didn't have my smite up, and I was like, well, I'm going to die now. Well, and the reason I say this, in a week, I'm not going to remember that.
But we will.
We will, yeah. And now we will, because I've said it on the podcast, and we'll talk about that. But in general, like, you're not going to remember. I guarantee you don't remember 99% of the mistakes. You don't even know 99% of the mistakes you make in a game at our elo. You make mistakes, you don't even realize you're making mistakes. So, and the mistakes you made, you're probably going to forget about in a week or two, or you're gonna pop off on some game where you go, 18-0, and you're going to be like, man, that game was amazing. So just remember, like, it doesn't matter really in the long run that you made your mistake in this one game. Keep playing and remember that it is a game, and that you'll forget about those moments and you'll get better. And man, just wait till you're like diamond and you're like, man, I cannot believe I was stuck in gold for so long.
Yeah,
like, why was I stuck there?
It's when I get frustrated with mistakes is like you said, when I make the same mistake over and over. That's when I'm like, all right, now I'm irritated. Like the first one, like when I make a mistake, it's like, whoops, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. Like, but if I go and do exactly the same thing again, then I'm irritated with myself. It's like, why am I doing that again?
Yeah, because you know better, right?
Yeah, because that's how you get better, is not repeating the same mistakes over and over. But the first time you make a mistake, hey, I didn't know it was going to go like that. Like you can just...
like Projector said, like one of the first steps is actually recognizing that it was a mistake to begin with.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like in the lower elo, since like they'll bitch and moan about like basically, oh, like I was super fed, but my team still lost me the game. And it's like, you ever see that thing where that guy has like 12 kills and he just doesn't know what to do with it?
Yeah.
So like he goes to all his buddies after the game and goes, man, I just can't believe I just lost this rank game where I was 12-2-14. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you were 12-2-14, but you didn't end the game. You also didn't go with your team and push, or you also didn't split push when you were supposed to, or take objectives. You didn't do your job. You got fed and then you just did nothing with it. And it's like a lot of people have a hard time taking KDA away from like their game performance.
Yeah, that's very common. Like especially
like,
my MMO.
Yeah, I got fed. I did really good, right? And it's like not necessarily.
I can't count how many games like I've done like triple the next guy's damage on my team on Mordekaiser, but I'll be like 7-5. It's like, I almost killed everyone every single fight. I'll be like 7-5-7. And like one guy will have like 12 kills and he'll be like 12-2, and he's like, oh, I carried, and I'm like, I did like 3 times your damage.
I'm more afraid of the Singed main with a 0.86 KDA.
That's 100% mine. Like who has like a 6? Like who are you scared of? The 70% win rate Singed player with 1.0 KDA, or the like 40% Yasuo player with a 5.0 KDA? Me personally, the Singed guy, 100% of the time.
Because he knows how to end the game.
He knows he knows how to win, and like
Yasuo's gonna be annoying, but Singed is gonna be unstoppable.
Yeah, we can't beat him. Like,
and he stopped caring about KDA, which is like really important. So a couple days ago, it was almost 15 games in a row where I had mono S's, whether it be S minuses, S's, or just S pluses, and 90% of those games were all negative KDAs. Like killed to death. Like I was 2-4 and 17 or something like that. But the wards placed and my damage to champions was just out of this world. It was a huge amount. So like whatever the grading system is, magic, magnets, I don't care how it works. Whatever it was recognizing the fact that I was being, without kills, extremely useful to my team through a massive amount of vision throughout the entire course of the game, or just flat damage to champions. Like if I'm playing a support in a 20-minute game, I have 26,000 damage to champions, or a 35-minute game where I have 70,000 damage to champions.
Yeah. I mean,
like in one way or another, I'm doing my job. I may not be killing people.
I posted 2 different videos of me literally winning my team the game in like the Discord channel that we were in, and both of them were me. Like I had been getting stomped on all game. And it's me keeping the fed guy on their team busy and just running around in circles. Like I have one of I am a Garen, and a Yorick has like 15 kills, and he chases me, no lie, for the last 3 minutes of the game while my team ends. Wow. Like I have him just running around. Like I'm just running around like the Baron pit, like over and over, and my team is literally ending the game, and he's just chasing me forever. And I'm like, as long as he doesn't leave, we win.
So you're telling me you killed the most fed person on the team for 3 minutes straight?
That's exactly right. Like it's even better than killing him, because if I had killed him, he would have TP'd back to the fight because he had teleport. So literally, I just ran him around and he chased me forever. And like I was flashing mastery at him.
referring to basically
Yeah.
making him non-existent in the game.
Yeah,
for
I
3
deleted
minutes.
him from
Yeah.
the game for 3 minutes. Like, who can do that?
Yeah, nothing's more annoying than when you're trying to back and like a Janna is constantly tornadoing you.
Lord, that is so frustrating.
But
Dude,
yeah,
that's my bread and butter on Zyro because plants have 675 attack range.
I hate you.
You do the Q range plus the seed proc range past the Q plus the auto attack range of the plant. So it's like 1300 damage, I think.
I'm reporting you even if you can.
Oh, yeah.
I just want you to know that. No,
What?
so
Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, that's a good question. Thanks for writing in. So which one do we want to... I think that last question is really good because I think a lot of players have a lot of trouble with that, right? Like, they kind of don't know, like, that, hey, it's a game, and, like, mistakes are how you learn. And,
Yeah.
like, so don't beat yourself up, man. Like,
welcome to League of
Legends.
Legends, where the points are made up and
And the LP doesn't matter.
the LP doesn't matter.
Until Challenger,
Yeah.
none of it matters, man. You're not going to get anything for it anyway.
like that
Just have a good time, man.
That is a really good question. So, yeah, absolutely. Kindy is the winner this week. Congratulations. So, any closing thoughts? Contractor, you've been gone for a while. Hopefully you came up with something really deep and meaningful.
The only thing we've been paying attention to is the LCS for really like kind of like digging deep for kind of like the anecdotal stuff. I'm very surprised to see Cloud9 being 4-0. I know that they're obviously one of the best teams in North America, but they are very wishy-washy for how the results usually are, and they've been showing up and been pretty solid.
Contracts is a god. There's a lot of good junglers in NALCS right now.
Contracts is very good, yeah.
He's real good. So. What about you, Projector?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, what are you gonna say?
Finish it up.
Absolutely love the 10 ban change.
Oh,
yes. Me too.
competitive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I think
it makes it feel so much
was
better
it?
watching those games.
Mm-hmm.
now, granted, I know part of it is like them figuring out the meta, but someone posted on Reddit like the day after LCK started, and they were like, "We've already seen 42% of the champions picked in like 2 days of LCK." Like,
So
and I know
great.
that's partially them figuring out the meta, but still, that's huge. Like,
What a
That's really
difference!
significant.
What a difference that one change made to like champion.
Well, yeah,
pool and stuff.
it's no longer like 16 champions. Whether you have with the picks, the 5 bans, sorry, the 6 bans, and then what was on top of it, like the few like corner case bans that people would save for like best of fives.
Yep.
And they would like randomly pull out those champions, and besides that, it was like you play like 20 to 22 total champs. And
Wow.
now we're seeing 42% of the champion population in 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, good. And
I would much
honestly,
rather the ban like meta be stale and then ban the same champions over and over than the actual meta be stale, you know?
Yeah.
Which I feel is what happens when you don't have enough bans. What happens is there's OPs that you are forced to pick, and that is currently not the case. Which is,
I mean, that's how it is for solo duo queue, unfortunately, right now. So
yeah.
I'm hoping that change actually becomes a thing for the ladder as well. Because
it would be
that's my
interesting
big
to see
problem
how
with
they
it
would
now.
handle it, like to not make the pick ban so much longer.
Yeah. Well, they can make the timing for that stuff a lot shorter, which
But
again
then
would
more
also
dodges.
Well, that's the thing. If they make it shorter, that forces people to pay attention because the speed of champ select goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
30 seconds per ban and pick is honestly unnecessary. You can cut that number in half, and that's still enough time because you have all the time before it's your turn to pick to discuss what you want to ban and pick as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just one of those things where like you could cut that time in half and it would still be completely fine. How much time
Yeah.
do you really need to go? Who should I ban this champion or this champ?
I think what they should do
But
actually
the
is
game
they
is
should
quick,
just
you know?
let everybody have a ban if they introduce it to solo duo.
I
that's
think
what
that's
they
what they're
should
gonna
do.
do. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
And
Instead
solo
of
duo,
instead
it's
of
gonna
like
look-
doing it like tiered, just let everybody ban one champion.
They just need to accept that like pro play and like our play are two different
Maybe in
things,
flex,
with different needs.
in flex, let it stay the way it is in the pros, and then in solo duo, just let everybody ban a champion.
Yeah.
That would be
I'm
great.
cool with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
fine with
I'd
that.
be cool with that too.
I mean,
So-
just a change.
What about you, Projector? Give me
Final thoughts.
Give me some final thoughts.
So my first
Boba
final
to
thought
Zen.
is, ladies, I am on the market again.
Hey!
So hit me up.
Hey!
Hit me up. All right. And number two,
any league playing ladies out there, he's available.
Number two is this, and I've been. This is the first time I've seen Contractor on webcam, and it's been bugging me because he's not that he looks bad, but that he looks like he looks so familiar to me, and here's why. He looks like a cross between McLovin and Febiven. And
oh
so
my God!
You had just hit me now, so I'm gonna call you the American Febiven now. And,
good old McLovin,
the American Febiven.
And I think this is amazing.
I see more for a name change.
I see more Febiven than McLovin, but there's just a tiny bit in there. Not in the voice; it's all in the face. So if you haven't ever watched our podcast, this is your chance.
The American Febiven. That's the
you're
show.
You're gonna give me a rating.
There it is. There's the show title, American Febiven.
So if you haven't watched our show, first, you can check me out, let me know, and then you can check out the American Febiven. Check them out.
All right.
Well, ladies,
get in there. He's throwing the gauntlet. There it is.
So no,
awesome.
take care,
you
everyone.
want to come to my place and see my Rek'Sai?
Hey. Oh, all right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Take care.
Good night, guys.